I want to dig in a little bit because when you talk about creating the scalable growth and trust, you look at it kind of differently than a lot of people do in a really cool way. You talk about how trust, first, it compounds over time. So it becomes a larger competitive advantage the more that you put into it. In the States here, Forrester came out and they said for C suite executives today in B2B companies, the number one thing you should be doing is creating trust. It's the currency to get into the deal. It's the currency to win the deal. It's the currency to keep the deal long term. Right? That's like the level of importance they put on it. You talked about not only how it compounds, and I want to hear your words about like what does that mean, but it has to have a consistency, you said, in alignment with the greater ecosystem. I want to hear what you mean by trust compounding and then what this ecosystem is and how you think about that in creating trust.
Yeah. So first on the compounding piece, I think what's interesting to me is that when we put on our work hat or our suit and go into the office, we seem to sometimes forget what the human condition is all about. I think great relationships and trust, it's not built in the blink of an eye. It's not built on an instant. Like you can do great things in the short term and you can earn credibility and so on. But if you think about the people in your life that you really, really count on, these are almost always relationships that have continuous exposure over time. Like it's all of these things of when you know that a partner is having a tough time, you figure out a way to adjust the deal, even though you might be losing a bit in the short term, or when it's about going the extra mile and opening a door from them. These are so obvious things, right? But we tend to forget these things. And we kind of live in this time where we're so preoccupied by data and technology and the pace of change and everything that is going on. And those are important. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about that in this session as well. But at the end of the day, like between human beings, like we need to find those ways of building that common ground.
And how do you build that, like the ecosystem component of this, right? You know, alignment, trust, and alignment with ecosystem. Never heard anybody talk about that before.
Let me take an example from our business, what that means. So it starts with how we approach strategy and competition and value creation at Rail Europe. Like I said, we're part of this broader travel value chain and ecosystem. On the one hand, we have our suppliers, our train carriers in the different markets, more coming in, more than 200 already today. And we have tens of thousands of partners on the demand side, providing them these services forward. And around this, we're partnering with destination marketing organizations, with European travel commissions, with cities, with governments, and so on. If you try to build your business model around something where you're just maximizing for the revenue potential based on one part of that system, even though if in the short term you can see it's the most lucrative one, in the long term, that approach really does not work. Instead, what we're doing it is that we try to consistently do the same when we reevaluate how we think about our bets is that if we do not understand the incentives, motives, the objectives of each side of this business, and then find our sweet spot where we can credibly claim to build for both sides of the market. I can go to dinners and I can try to be a nice guy and like this is all fine. But if we don't design a system where the actual incentives are aligned within the ecosystem overall, you will just not be successful in the long term. People will find out, like they will see that you're taking actions that are not in their interest. But if you can find that nugget, and this is something that really got me excited almost 2 years ago when joining Rail Europe, when you can find a position in the market, in a marketplace type setup, as I think we have, you can just speak the truth in those interactions. And that changes the dynamic again.